I'm back and I have an update on the Evo. In my last video, I sort of did a quick overview of the car and how it was currently set up, and I hinted that a couple things were changing on it, and I'm back to show what those are. So the car's running, I've got it warming up, and after this video I'm going to do a poll. I got to do a data log for my tuner so we can detune it a little bit. But before we get to that, let's show what's changed. So last time during the video, we were walking around and I showed the rims that were on the car. They were Rota grids. They were kind of curved up, and I did some shoddy patchwork on them to make them look okay. So let's see what's on there now. There we go. So I am super happy with what we ended up with here. These are Volk TE37 SLs, and they very well could be one of the last pairs of these rims that are ever made. They've since been discontinued, and I ordered these back in November, the end of November. It took a really long time to get here, so they just got here I'm gonna say like 2 weeks ago, and then I ordered the tires and the lugs and got everything installed this week. So they are raised Duralugs. One of them's got like a special key in it for security, and then the tires are Falcon Zenzinus RT615Ks, which are really like highly rated autocross tires for this car. So really happy overall with how it looks. Back up a little bit here. I mean, TE37s are kind of one of the most commonly used rims on this car, I think, if you're going to go all out. And I'm just super happy that the Rotas are replaced with the actual Volk rims. They look great. The car handles really well now. In addition to having the new wheels put on, I had an alignment done. I had put on that dry carbon steering wheel, and it felt like it was like a tooth off to the left, so the steering angle was off by like 1 or 2%. So I had that adjusted, I had an alignment done, and obviously I had everything balanced. So car is handling perfectly now. So it's all set up for what we're going to do next, which is the data log. So for anyone who's never done one of these on an Evo, I'll show you what's involved here. I've got the car running right now so that the oil gets all warmed up and everything gets up to temperature before we do the pull. But let me show here. So on the inside, up to the OBD2 port here, we've got a Tactrix cable. And then there's a USB cable connected to it that runs over here into this little USB hub. And then the USB hub goes into my laptop. The other cable on that USB hub goes to this, my wideband sensor. And what that's going to be doing is measuring the air to fuel ratio as we're doing the pull. So the Tactrix is going to pull a bunch of information on the car that the tuner is going to use to dial everything in. And then the wideband, the Innovate, is going to measure the air to fuel ratio, and he's going to make sure everything looks good there, that we're not running lean or rich. So there's no risks of blowing the car up. As I mentioned last time, this is actually like detuning the car. So the main tune that's normally on there is actually more power. This is actually turning it down a little bit. So should be pretty safe. Not looking to make more power with it. Again, it's more like a conservative track tune. There should be still plenty of fun. Last I checked, it was on like 28 pounds of boost on the last data log that I did. So he's since changed a couple things, and I guess I'll see what it's at after I do the pull today. So I'm going to shut this off and then go to the spot where I normally do my data logs. Maybe I'll talk about that a little bit first. What makes a good spot to do like a pull is you want the surface to be pretty flat. You don't want it to be like a hilly surface where you're going up or down. You want it to be relatively flat, relatively smooth road. In Washington State, the roads are decent in a lot of places. I actually live a little bit south of Seattle. The roads here are pretty well maintained here, but you want to find one that doesn't have a lot of bumps or potholes or anything like that. What the process is I'm going to get the car up to speed to like 3,000 RPMs. And then I'm going to click a button on the laptop to start recording start logging what's going on with the car. And then I'm gonna mash the gas pedal all the way to 100% and hold it until the car hits 7,000 RPMs, and then I'm gonna let off the gas. I'll shift from third to fourth. I'll let off, I'll let the car relax a little bit, and then I click stop on the laptop. That tells the program to stop recording the data that's being output from that Tactrix port, and then I email that tune off to my tuner, who then makes the adjustments and sends me another revision. So that's what we're gonna be doing today, and it's the most fun part of e-tuning a car, because you actually get to go out and drive it pretty fast, depending on the car. I'm not going to say how fast it's going to go, but I'll be taking the video as I do it, so you can get a pretty good idea of that from the surroundings behind me. Okay, so I'm going to turn this off for now, and I'll turn it back on when we actually start the pull. Car's up to temp. I'm at my spot where I like to do data logs. Not a lot of cars on the road. I got some space. I'm not going to be disturbing anyone. And 3,000 RPM. Go. That was pretty quick, and I don't think I even took the data log. Oh my goodness, I think I clicked too many times on the laptop, and the data log never actually started. Lucky for me, I enjoy doing those, but I'm gonna have to go back and do that again. Back again. This time I clicked to start on the data log. So I will for sure have logs this time. I'll probably have some extra logs, and I'll just have to trim them, which is no big deal. Okay. Back in my same spot. Getting everything up to speed. 1,000 RPMs, here we go. Thankfully, that does not get old. So, I don't mind redoing that. The data log was running that time, so I do not need to go back and do it again. One other thing I wanted to mention as I'm just sort of driving home is the turbo that's on here, the setup that's on here, clutch, everything. Just driving around, it's a really smooth driving car. There's not a ton of turbo lag. It is a twin scroll turbo. It is a pretty big turbo. It's capable of making 600 wheel horsepower on this engine. But it's not big to the point where just driving this car around is a chore. Picks up nice, just driving around at speed, third, second, fourth, whatever. And you step on it and it goes. It's very responsive. Like the transient response is really, really good. I know some larger turbos don't really do anything until you get to like 5,000 RPMs. And all of a sudden, it's like your world is ending. This one is not that at all. It's a very good, like, all-around turbo. So if you're looking for something just like a really good street car setup that will still leave you with a drivable car, I would highly recommend the 7670, which is, again, it's a T4 turbo. It's a T4 kit. But yeah, just all in all, super, super happy with it. It's a good size turbo. The second thing was, I forgot to mention this while I was suggesting, good locations to do data logs, is you want a road where car cars are kind of going fast anyways, or there just isn't a lot of cars on the road. Because it's kind of a dick move to be, you know, going wide open throttle in a car that's pretty fast just in public. It kind of pisses me off when people do that. I'm not a huge fan of making other people uncomfortable on the road, so I like to, if I'm going to be driving fast, I like going to the track, or I like going to areas where, you know, other people are not around. And if there are other people around, chances are they're probably going pretty quick too. So also add that to your criteria when selecting a good road to be doing data log on. One thing I forgot to mention earlier was the specs on the wheels. They're 18 by 9.5 inches with a 22 offset. The fitment, in my opinion, is basically perfect on this car. It sits nice and flush. They don't stick out too far. You can still run good-sized tires on them, nice meaty tires, which help with actually putting down the power. The tires are 265, 35, 18. And again, those are Falcon his ends and his tires. One thing I still want to do is get the ride height adjusted a little bit. When I showed it earlier, I don't know if you could tell, but the car was sitting a little bit high. That was because the shop didn't have time to swap my springs. The springs on my coilovers are getting a little bit rusty, so I'm just going to replace them to something that looks a little bit nicer. And when they do that, I want them to drop the ride height. Not like slammed, like this was, you know, at one point supposed to be a rally car, so I like to keep it fairly usable and not bottom out going over a speed bump. But I'd say dropping the car like an inch would probably be a pretty good height, while not being too low to make the car, you know, just a pain driving through parking lots and things like that. The second thing is I have this like aluminum under tray, this aluminum under panel that I need to put back on the car. I was working on some stuff underneath it, so I took it off. I haven't put it back on. But when I drop the car, I'm going to make sure that I put that back on. It's like the first thing that I do, because the car's going to be sitting a little bit lower. Where the oil filter is in this car, it's like kind of low to begin with. So if I bottom out on something, I want that tray making contact and not my oil filter, just ripping that right off. I also have a sandwich plate adapter in between my oil filter and the oil pan, and that's where one of the sensors for my oil gauge is connected. So, you know, in the last video I talked about this oil gauge that I have that does oil temperature and oil pressure in one, which is really, really cool. The downside of it is it needs two sensors. So one of the sensors is on like the front of the block, and then the other one is at the bottom on this sandwich plate. So it drops my oil filter like another, you know, half an inch lower than stock. So because of that, got to put that tray back on. Cool, that's it. I'll post in the comments how many pounds of boost that log was. The car felt pretty quick, felt pretty good. Maybe I'll plug it into virtual dyno so you get a rough idea of how much power the car is pushing. So if I do that, I'll put it all in the comments. Cool, thanks, bye.